After what happened for Bitcoin versus gold, where gold made a major cycle top and Bitcoin started moving to the upside, I think the same is about to happen for Bitcoin versus the Nasdaq, because now we are at a very important support level which we did not lose this entire bull market. So that is what we need to discuss within today's update video, because I think that the upcoming FOMC from today is going to have a big effect on exactly this chart, and I will exactly explain why in today's update video. So first of all guys, make sure to subscribe to the channel and watch like my latest YouTube videos, because we will not only discuss this, we will discuss a lot more, like all of the most important Bitcoin price data, latest news hitting the market, upcoming events. I will give a big update on my Ethereum trading position, and of course I will give my outlook on the upcoming altcoin season, also depending on a possible monetary policy change. So let's discuss exactly that, and let's dive in directly into the most important content here. Since on the yearly perspective, year to date, the Nasdaq is now outperforming Bitcoin, and this does remind me a little bit of what happened for Bitcoin versus gold basically a few days ago, not even a week ago here. And there we saw the same happening. Gold just stayed on moving to the top side, like US stocks are now doing also, and at some moment US stock market is going to consolidate, and I think Bitcoin could be taking the lead once again. Why do I think so? Because if we dive into the Bitcoin versus Nasdaq chart on the logarithmic time frame, we can simply see that this is a very important support level the Bitcoin versus Nasdaq pair is about to touch. So for the people that maybe don't completely understand, is the Bitcoin versus Nasdaq pair, Bitcoin priced in Nasdaq US stocks, basically US tech stocks. And now we are hitting this super important support level where I think a bounce is going to be likely from. Of course, we could grab some liquidity and then eventually bounce back to the upside, but it would make a lot of sense to me, and then it is going to look something like Nasdaq topping out just like gold did, and then Bitcoin eventually heading up even higher, because now we are clearly lagging behind the Nasdaq with it outperforming Bitcoin year to date, and I think Bitcoin is eventually going to catch up. Most definitely if something very important is going to happen this next FOMC, and if something important is going to get announced by Powell during his speech later today, which I of course will be live streaming on the channel, so make sure to come and watch it. But Powell might be announcing the end of QT, and if that is going to be the case, I think in the broader perspective, crypto is going to be a more attractive asset sector to start investing in, and that would align with my thesis that maybe Bitcoin could outperform US tech stocks, which in my opinion are a little bit less risky than crypto itself, by even more, and then a bounce from off exactly this level is going to be very likely probably. And I'm not the only one expecting this. I'm not just doing a random estimate or something. No, actually a lot of people are now expecting this, and a lot of big companies and a lot of influential names. Like for example, the BofA's head of US rates said that the Fed may end QT in October and even restart the balance sheet growth. And that would mean that QE is even coming. I don't personally think that QE is going to get announced during this speech. Maybe it will, but I think the chances of that are quite small. I think the chances are bigger that Powell is going to announce that there is going to be an ending of QE, that there's going to be an ending of QT, quantitative tightening, because JP Morgan and both the Deutsche Bank are now expecting this to happen today. That is of course going to be super interesting, because an announcement like that is going to put the spotlight on the crypto market, but it is going to be a big if. This does not have to happen. It is an expectation, but if so, I think it is going to be a very interesting period for Bitcoin and for crypto. Definitely looking at, for example, the Bitcoin versus Nasdaq chart here after we saw what happened for gold versus Bitcoin. So I think we have a very interesting meeting coming. It is going to be highly volatile, and make sure to come and watch the live stream. Another interesting fact we have about Bitcoin and the FOMC meetings is that now after the two last FOMCs, we've seen a red period for Bitcoin. So basically a downwards moving period regarding the price action. But interestingly enough, we also saw this happening in 2024. Actually, the only time that happened during this bull market, and basically we have never seen 3 red periods after 3 consecutive FOMC meetings. So it seems like the next period is going to be a green one. If not, it might be somewhat of a warning signal that potentially a bear market is going to get started. Let's see about exactly that, but it is definitely some very interesting data we have our hands on here. So let's see how this is going to develop here in the near future. Bitcoin is still facing this major resistance level. We do know that once getting rejected from off this resistance, we do see large corrections or just corrections in general. After we break this level, we do see new moves towards the all-time highs. So once Bitcoin is going to, for example, reclaim and break this resistance box, I think it is going to make all-time highs once again, because that is what it has been doing in this consolidation period. But most definitely it is going to move towards the range highs of about 120k. So this is the resistance level to keep our eyes on, also during, after and just before the upcoming FOMC meeting. As long as Bitcoin is going to stay above the weekly moving average 50 trend line, I'm not panicking. I think from off there a bear market is not getting started. If we are going to break below it, then indeed a bear market might be getting started. But for now, we are still trading above it. Also holding up above the bull market support band. Another interesting and important level for Bitcoin. We saw the weekly close above it, which was of course highly bullish. If we could now be holding above it, retesting and then eventually heading higher, I think that would make a lot of sense for Bitcoin. Because I still believe in the final wave. Definitely looking at the broader market. Just taking things in perspective, I think we could still see a positive period for crypto. I don't necessarily think that the Bitcoin top does have to be in here. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm delusional, but this is how I'm currently looking at the markets. We have not only the FOMC, but also on Friday President Trump and the Chinese president are going to meet. And of course, everything surrounding the trade deal of the USA and China is also going to have a big impact on the markets. So make sure you are prepared for exactly that volatility. Also, we are most definitely in the private Telegram group. We are prepared for events like this. I'm updating about all of the things I'm seeing in the market in real time in the private Telegram group. So make sure to come and join here if you want my updates in real time. You can find the link in the description on this update video here that you can join. But it's not only me in this group, but also a lot of other professional traders. And for example, we just got a new trading setup in. I don't want to show too much, but yeah, we have some very good traders in here and also Crypto Rover. So make sure to come and check it out. It is definitely a very valuable community, and I think we are going to perform quite well here in the ending stage of the cycle. So make sure to come and check it out. And now I do want to give a big update on my Ethereum trading position, because now I'm back in a very small loss, which does not really bother me, because I personally think that this trade is going to perform very good in the ending stage of the cycle, because I do still believe in a Bitcoin push, then an Ethereum push, and then a period of outperformance for altcoins. I do most definitely think that is still going to be possible in Q4 here, because that is the most bullish quarter of the post-halving year, like we have discussed many times. But back to the trade. Still same position size, still the same limit orders open like we have been discussing over the last few days. So yeah, not much of a difference. If you do want to join me with this trading position on Ethereum, because we will stay slowly DCAing in like we have been doing all the time. No, we don't enter our full position size just in one go. No, we slowly DCA in. That is how we have been doing it basically this entire cycle. So keep that in mind. If you do want updates about that, also make sure to join the group. But if you do want to trade on LBANK with me, with for example Ethereum or a lot of other altcoin pairs, you can find the link to LBANK here in the description on this update video, and there you can claim a 20% deposit bonus and some other benefits. So make sure to check it out if you're getting interested in that. Of course, in no way financial advice, but yeah, you can claim it there in the description if you do want to do so. Now I do want to dive back into the Ethereum chart itself, because Ethereum is basically looking the same as Bitcoin here, with also an important resistance level which we failed to break here. Once Ethereum is going to break above this resistance, probably it's going to be heading towards the range highs. And the big difference with Bitcoin is probably going to be that yes, Bitcoin could, in my opinion, still make a new all-time high, but I won't think it will be moving much and much higher, to be completely fair with you guys. So what I do think is Bitcoin will eventually top out here and then starts consolidating even more in this major range, and Ethereum could be taking the spotlight from there with not falling back in the range, but eventually heading higher from off the range and truly making new all-time highs, for example above the 5k level. If Ethereum could sustain a rally above, for example, the 5k level, then I do personally think that we could see an outperformance period for altcoins. But it's going to be important that Ethereum just stays trading above all-time high levels for somewhat of a longer time. So altcoins also have time and the room to truly start moving. Otherwise, it's going to be a difficult story. But let's see about exactly that. I do think this is going to happen for Ethereum still in Q4. So that's why my perspective on altcoins is also positive still. Probably it's going to look something like this for Ethereum and move to the 5.4 and the 6.3k levels. Those have been my top targets this entire bull market. We draw this chart out all the way back in the reaccumulation zone when Ethereum was moving to the tariff lows. We have been nailing this Ethereum move up with the Fibonacci retracement levels always corresponding with major support or resistance in the market. And yes, I always stated that once we are going to retest the reaccumulation phase, that was going to be an interesting level for me to open a trade. So the 4k level, that is exactly what we have been doing on the channel. So for now, our game plan is still exactly playing out, and the 1.6.8 and the second Fibonacci level are going to be big resistance levels, I personally think, and that's why they will also be some profit targets where at and in between I will be taking some profits on my Ethereum trading position. And now I do want to take some time to discuss this chart, because this is of course what everybody is talking about now. We are looking at the others versus Bitcoin, so the smallest altcoins compared or priced in Bitcoin, and overlaid with the Federal Reserve balance sheet. I think this is going to be the most important thing, and also the most important thing Powell could possibly be talking about, because what we are looking for is the ending of QT. And for example, when we saw the ending of QT in 2019, that was somewhat of the starting point before a parabolic move for others versus Bitcoin. The only question is going to be, or a few questions actually, this was not a post-halving year like we are in now, so that is in my opinion completely different and somewhat hard to compare it with. And indeed altcoins started moving after, but then we saw COVID, for example, so I think also that is going to be a little bit different. But I think bottom line, what you do see is that after QT ends and QE gets started, it is going to be a bullish catalyst for altcoins. The only question is it going to get on time? Are we truly going to see QE also in the near future? Still a lot of uncertainty, but I would say that it is going to be bullish for the markets if QT is going to be ending, and we could see some positive price action in the near future. I'm not saying it's going to be the same, but I think for the others first Bitcoin pair in the short term, it's going to be bullish. We could see a good reaction, but from there we just have to see how the markets are going to move, and it's going to be very uncertain most definitely if the Federal Reserve is going to announce the ending of QT. I personally think, but definitely in the longer term, I think it's going to be very bullish for altcoins, but we should stay a little bit cautious of, for example, what we saw happening in 2019, and then we still saw a major drop because of COVID, which was indeed a little bit different, but on the other hand, it is exactly what happened there. So we should stay a little bit cautious, I personally think. And then guys, that was it for today's update video. I hope you guys enjoyed this update video. If you did so, make sure to smash on that like button, subscribe to the channel, and then I will see you guys in my next update video tomorrow.